if we pause and say, how can this help us think through things differently or become more efficient, it really changes the narrative.
Welcome to the TroopHR Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Bradley. Today we sit down with Jalie Cohen, CHRO at Radiology Partners, to explore the evolving intersection of AI, human capability, and modern leadership. From leading through rapid technological change to rethinking how organizations learn and adapt, Jalie shares her forward-looking perspective on what it takes to bring along people in the age of AI. I begin the conversation by grounding the discussion in a foundational question. How would you define leadership?
I think as it relates to this particular topic, so if I think about leadership in AI, it is being able to, at the same time, you're educating yourself, bringing other people along with you. So on the journey with you in the evolution of AI. And I want to carve it out for the AI piece because I think you can talk about leading teams. There's so many different ways, executive leadership, frontline leadership, middle management leadership, it could go on and on. But I think as it relates to leadership and specifically the foundations of leadership in AI, I think it really is an important part of self-educating yourself and bringing people along with you on the journey.
And as we go along on this journey today, let's start at the beginning here. So you are the CHRO at Radiology Partners. Could you describe, just for the listeners, a brief on what does Radiology Partners do and how is AI starting to fit into that?
Oh my goodness. So AI is a huge part of Radiology Partners. So Radiology Partners, we are the largest radiology practice in the U.S. We would argue throughout the world. We have over 4,000 radiologists, an almost equal number of support teammates really focused on delivering the best possible patient care. And at the same time, last year, we launched Mosaic Clinical Technologies, which is our platform where it was built by radiologists, where we're building tools to support them, and it's AI-based. So I think we are at the forefront on many levels, but as far as early adoption or just understanding the power of artificial and human intelligence together, working really side by side, we're at the forefront of that.
This is fascinating to me. My background is before at HR, I served as a paramedic and worked around the globe. And part of it, especially when you work internationally as a remote medic, is you get to do x-rays. And it was such a fun process for me. And I would have loved AI at that point to help read those. But when it comes to getting radiologists to embrace a technology that in some of their opinions could be perceived as encroaching on their territory or putting their jobs at risk, how do you navigate that with them?
I think what is very unique about Radiology Partners, as well as our tech side, Mosaic, is that it's built by radiologists. I think oftentimes when people build things or they test or they pilot things, they do it in a vacuum and they do it from a lens of how does this fit in whatever logic I have. When you have the people who actually use the tool that are subject matter experts, and it's not designed, I know, gosh, there's all of these, I always call it fake news out there about how we are trying to build things to replace radiologists. We need our radiologists. We value them. The insight, intellect that they bring is second to none. And so that for me isn't even a discussion, but it is a challenge to say, how do you make sure that you are supporting them through advances in technology? So leveraging the human intelligence they bring with the technological advances. At this moment, it's AI. I mean, I'm dating myself, but in the 90s, there was one tech. In the early 2000s, there were another. 2010, it was something else. So technology continues to evolve. And I think for the radiologists, because there's such a shortage of them, and we're at a capacity crisis, and you have, regardless of the specialty, you have physician burnout, they also are seeking things to help them be more efficient. So I actually don't find them to be resistant to the change because, one, it was built for them by people who do what they do. I think that's kind of the secret sauce. The second thing would be people all over the world, as you mentioned, are looking for solutions to address a shortage of radiologists. So, for those two reasons, I don't think there is as much resistance as it is for others. Now, I will say, I want to add on just to this. I think with any change, because I don't want to say it's a cakewalk or everything is simple, with any change, it's hard because you're doing something different. You have to think about things differently. But once you show that you're more efficient, the outcomes are potentially better, the quality is potentially better. And it doesn't even have to do with radiology. I mean, I was using an AI tool and I'm able to draft memos faster, or it's helped me to be able to brainstorm and think about areas I didn't think about before. So it's not always, people are always like, oh, it's taking my job, it's replacing me. If we pause and say, how can this help us think through things differently or become more efficient? It really changes the narrative. And I find that people are way more receptive to that type of communication versus I've got to resist it. I'm not going to do it. And I'm just going to hunker down and say no.
Folks that have heard me speak before on this very topic, not radiology, but the human-centric approach to change management of AI, is that the greatest barrier to successful AI adoption is the inertia of the status quo. This is a human change management process.
Yes.
And where we've seen with our clients that we work with the most success is the best ideas come from the people that are going to use it. And that's one thing I want to highlight for listeners is you're using a radiologist to create a radiology tool that's also addressing a structural gap in the number of radiologists out there. When I used to work in an ER, I don't think I ever worked with a fully staffed radiology department. And when patients get very frustrated of, gosh, I've been in here a long time. Why isn't my x-ray or my CT or whatever coming back yet? It's like, well, it's because there's probably one radiologist that's going through 100 different charts.
Yes. The radiologists are also stressed when they know patients are waiting. They got into this because they wanted to be able to help patients solve their issues and help physicians read. And so the strain and stress when there are patients waiting, our radiologists for certain feel, which is one of the main drivers of why it's easier to have them. I don't want to say it's easy. To be clear, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier to have adoption to tech that allows them to better support patients. And that's really one of the focuses that we have.
Another area that doesn't get tied to AI a lot, but with use cases like this, I love to point this out, is inclusivity. There are many types of pathologies or many types of diseases that not a lot of folks have. And a radiologist may not be accustomed to identifying that diagnosis because it may be a 1 in a million, right? Very common. But AI can catch that and flag it to say, hey, this particular patient, this process may be something that you probably haven't seen since medical school. So think about it. And I love that, one, we're starting to take care of patients that ordinarily don't get the best medical care just due to a lack of consistency in how often this shows up for doctors because they're human. But two, it's still human in the loop. And I'm assuming with your software, how you embrace this radiologist is it's not replacing their expertise, it's augmenting it.
We are for certain looking at it as a support for the radiologist. It is not replacing the physicians we have that do amazing work to care for patients each and every day. It is to make sure that we are, one, leveraging technology, and two, ensuring that we are providing the best possible patient care available. There's just no question. And our topic is around, I'm in healthcare, but it's around AI and leadership. It's not just limited to the medical field. I was just watching a demo for a legal vendor. And they were saying, hey, you can go by state. So when you're an attorney, you're licensed in whatever state, so you learn and the state laws. But if you're working in Delaware, which many corporations are, or others, the AI was able to go in and just immediately say, okay, this may be relevant in Florida, but in Delaware, it's this. And in this state, it's this. And these are the considerations based on recent case law. I mean, this was a matter of seconds where you would have people scrambling to try to figure out how to conduct the analysis, where to look, who to go to, what's the recent. And you still need a lawyer in there to read it. You need all of the decision making, and then it goes into a brainstorming session instead of some of the administrative work to get there. I could go through every possible sub function and give an example of how it is augmenting the work in a positive way to allow us to merge the two. We're not losing people. You still need human intellect. You need context. You need soft skills. You need the ability to communicate. You need the ability to connect. People still need connection. It is just allowing a certain level of efficiency and actually a reduction in quite a bit of administrative work that slows down the ability to reach an outcome.
And even on the HR business partner side of the house, I'm fortunate to work in an AI infrastructure company. So at my disposal, I tend to have a few more teams that other folks don't have. But one of the areas that we've been really fortunate on building on the HR business partner side is we call it an agent, and there's technical terms related to that. But encouraging our business partners when they get a use case that comes in to use this agent as an augmentation for their brainstorming. You said brainstorming, it really resonated with me. It shows them second order effects of what may happen if you go to this person and say this. How would they feel? Now, immediately, an HR leader may go, well, I don't need an AI for that. I can just do that. I just know that thing. Probably true for seasoned professionals, but for your emerging level talent or for your seasoned professionals that may have a unusual case, going back to our radiology thing, they haven't seen a lot before, it's always great to get a second opinion. It's always great to get this backup of, have you thought of this? This person may think of this way around that. And that's led to way more helpful conversations that our HR business partners are having with their executives and with the people that they support, because they're using almost game theory to think of the different optionality that may come down the pike or what we should prepare for. Because at the end of the day, humans are hard to predict. And so having that more comprehensive approach has been really helpful for at least us.
Just to give a real-time example, is I've worked in various industries. So I've done consumer products, professional services, been on the healthcare side, both on the payer and now on the provider. And the HR scenarios can vary by industry also. And what I really like about some of the brainstorm opportunities is to say, if I was in this industry, so if I'm in manufacturing, this is how it may work in healthcare, but tell me, what are the watch outs? What are my blind spots? Why is this a sensitive spot for someone that may be a line worker versus someone that was on the front line in nursing? We're going in the transferable skill thought of, hey, if it's frontline, it's frontline. But AI allows you to brainstorm a little bit to dive, let's say those 2 clicks deeper to say, if I were on this manufacturing floor and experienced this, what could that look and feel like to me? What are the questions I need to ask? What examples can I use to resonate with this employee? And it just allows you to have better prep. Clearly, you are going in as a person, so the human component is there. The conversational skills, the soft skills are there, but it's the preparation of how to approach situations. No one is an expert in everything, right? No one. I am surprised almost every day, and I've been doing this 25 plus years. Gosh, I keep dating myself. And I always get surprises. I'm like, wow, okay. I didn't know that that was a thing, or this is new. So really the opportunity to learn and have a sounding board, because if you just imagine in that same scenario, you're in healthcare, you're now in manufacturing, and everyone only has that industry experience, you're going in with blind spots. And so it just allows you all to prep so that you can be a better business partner as well, not to be afraid of it.
And we've used it also for coaching anyone that's going in to do presentations. You can give the audio that you're going to do to a large language model. It can act as a variety of different personas, different questions to really prepare you. And now it's almost become the norm that if you haven't done practice with generative AI first, then you're probably not fully prepared. And it's pushing our leaders to think more critically and to expand how they approach these issues. The other thing is when it comes to learning velocity, which it feels like it's accelerated to a pace now that people could not have approached before on how quickly they can learn a new industry or a new topic with generative AI. What's an area that was an aha moment for you with generative AI or using a ChatGPT or Gemini, something like that?
When I hear learning and AI, I go to two different things. It's how we approach training and then how we train ourselves. This is how I kind of divide my mind into those two spaces. For me personally, I think the aha moment was in being able to just being in this role. There's a lot of messaging, a lot of speaking to different levels, how to craft messages for the various generations in the workforce. So I'm Gen X. And so we like our communication to come a certain way. For anyone listening, I realize this is a broad generalization and you have specialties. I'm speaking on broad terms. But if you have Gen Z or I'm raising Gen Alphas, I have two kids that follow that, the communication is very different. And what resonates, even the words are different. There are words I didn't even know that are words anymore that are used. And I have actually retrained when I know I'm going out to communicate to ensure that the language, the words that I'm adjusting, I'm retraining how I communicate. It's still my style, it's still my voice, my tone, my vibe, but it is with that spin that resonates better with all of these generations in the workforce. So I would say for me personally, that's something that I do and I do it on a regular basis. And also in written comms, if I'm sending out emails, we're going to a recruiting event, I'm like, please make this hip and relevant to this generation because now I'm old. But then from a training, I'm a firm believer, and this may be controversial, but there are so many ways that you can train yourself on AI. There for me is no excuse. And I'm probably what they would call a hardliner on this, because if today, and I'll just say for me personally, if I need to do, learn, or fix anything, I go to YouTube. I don't wait. I don't ask anyone permission. I don't fight it. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I replace the back of this toilet seat handle? I'm like, YouTube. How do I go in and change the oil? I don't know how to change the oil. Let me go to YouTube. So I would say we are able to do this in our life on so many different ways. And it's very pervasive with your younger generations because they're growing up where they're watching more YouTube than they are television. The same way that we approach our day-to-day and self-educating and self-teaching ourselves, you can go on LinkedIn or anywhere, and there are every day hundreds of posts of free classes, the basics, how to code, whatever the new tool is. Each vendor is launching it. So I would say from the learning, that's why I said it's how we teach ourselves and then the training provided. I actually don't think organizations have to go out and spend all of this money in investing in training anymore. You literally can go online and self-educate and train yourself. And I think just as a responsible employee looking to add value, you're obligated to do it.
Goodness, I mean, probably a whole other 3-hour session that we could just talk about that. The high level thing I will say is last year, Turing University, the organization, I work at Turing and I oversee Turing University, is we had about 10,000 people go through our different lines that we have because of the nature of our business is we have several thousand people that work for us throughout the year. And we have a talent development team of 3, primarily augmented by AI and agents that we built internally to help us scale, but also leveraging the free information that's out there from incredible sources. It's just like, if you're not using some of these sources that are out there, you don't need to go buy LinkedIn Learning, although you can. There's all sorts of great things out there. And what's helpful when you leverage those tools is they're often the most relevant in the moment because the technology is so rapidly changing.
That's exactly why, just to wrap that one up, why I believe the importance of self-educating. It is evolving. 12 months ago to today, I don't even recognize the tools that I was using 12 months ago to what I'm using today. Like, I feel I was an early adopter, but I feel so advanced in this space. But the tools are super advanced. I'm now creating dashboards. And I mean, there's so many things happening that the importance of self-educating and leveraging those free tools, which I agree with you, they're by far more updated than probably anything that you could create.
And an example of that is last weekend, we had to onboard 1,300 people with 48 hours notice, and we had to vibe code some tools. With our InfoSec team, we have a governance, we have security in place rapidly to help with a couple of the tasks that we weren't prepared to address. And you couldn't do that before. We're in a whole new world. In my opinion, I've always been bullish on AI, has materially changed even from 12 months ago of what I thought the limitations of AI could be. But again, go on for hours. We do have to come in for a landing. So I'll give you the last question here. If people want to reach out to you, what is the best way to connect with you?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is absolutely the best way. I am active on it, often speaking about AI leadership and AI and the importance of accepting that change is constant. And so instead of steering away from it or resisting it, leaning into it.
Great note to end on. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the TroopHR Podcast. If you've liked this episode, we would encourage you to like and subscribe. If you would like to learn more about the TroopHR community, you can reach out to troophr.com. In the meantime, keep living the dream.